Hello, everyone. I'm Anime Danime. Welcome to the Ouch, the Bebop Netflix Spoilercast and review. We have with us Bob.
Ouch.
From GigaBoots, KZ from KZExcellent.com, Mr. Feel.
Is this a Channel Awesome movie?
From Mr. Feel's Wild Ride. Honestly, I started to wonder.
That might be better.
And Dr. Aggro from Dr. Aggro.
Boom, bang, bang.
Wahoo.
We watched all 10 episodes, at least I did, of Bebop Netflix.
I did.
I fucking did.
Yup.
Yep.
So I don't think any of us, I think it's reasonable to say that not a single one of us came in expecting it to be this bad.
No.
Because that exceeds.
Yeah, it's so much worse than I had, like, faculties to perceive it being.
Yeah.
It's like if you took everyone's joke, cynical prediction and combined them all into individual
and then still made them
episodes.
worse.
Yes, because mixing them made
this
them
was ripped, fully formed from like the nightmare scenarios of 2001 BBS threads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you went to 4chan and started a thread where people made up a Netflix live action Cowboy Bebop to upset each other as the freaks on that website do, it would not be as bad as what Netflix made.
Yeah. This has been a trip. Do we even follow the normal format?
Well, of course. We need each person's individual.
Oh, okay. 2-sentence summary, and then we make a sound. At the end of this, we give it a score. Oh God, out of 10. Possible maximum score of 50.
Hey, maybe our discussion will raise or lower our points at the end. Who knows?
We're gonna go ahead and start with KZ. Give us 2 sentences and a sound.
A lot of people say, hey, they're going to do this if they adapt this thing. And you're like, that's stupid. But they did all of them in this one show. Every single one. I don't know. I was just kind of floored about how bad this is and how they ruined every single concept and episode that they attempted to tackle their way through. I'm going to give this a whoa, how?
We're gonna move to Bob now.
I know we don't usually allow this, but the worst scene is actually every single time that Vicious is on screen.
That's another show, so we can allow it here.
Are we not in cursed content right now? I was confused.
No, because if we were, you would have to do a commentary on all 10 episodes.
That scream, that's also how I react.
Okay, thank you.
Dude, the amount of groaning during the episodes I sat in for, or confusion at how they presented visuals.
We go to Mr. Feel next.
I really don't have any words. Like, this isn't even. Okay, I do have words. Let me gather them.
Okay. It's okay.
This was really horrible for the first 5 episodes. Then it got so much worse. Every second was like crawling through a field of barbed wire and broken glass, struggling to get to the end of this fucking show where every scene was horrible and nobody involved knew anything about not only Cowboy Bebop, they knew nothing about Cowboy Bebop or any of the themes it had. They also knew nothing about making a film. So I'm gonna give it a
Yeah, it's just a microwave hallway of a show.
It really is.
It is. It's I'm holding the stick forward and slowly walking through the hallway.
We're going to go to Dr. Aggro next.
You know how when an episodic show goes on long enough, it's eventually going to have an episode about all the characters being trapped in a book? I feel like I just watched 10 episodes of normal people who didn't deserve it trapped in this fucking script.
100%.
I give this series a... Yup.
2 sentences, huh? Normally that's easy, but there's so much that it's hard to snip off enough to fit it. Bebop Netflix, the script is incredibly cruel to any and all talent in it, and even more cruel to fans of the series. There are a lot of different ways this could have gone. How did it go the worst? I'm going to give it a, oh, come on. Okay.
You know, it's cool, Dan. In the original Cowboy Bebop, there's this episode with a very big round man who was just some crazy guy who showed up for a one-off episode. It's one of my favorites. Had a really cool style. They wait till the end to show how his crazy origin. Now, what if in the live-action series it wasn't a one-off, but was really the secret arch nemesis broke him out to defeat Spike Spiegel?
Yeah. And then we didn't explain why he starts screaming for his mom at the end.
I'm gonna be
because
honest.
we didn't go into that backstory at all.
Even though I have an hour.
Yeah, I went back and rewatched that part because I only saw a chunk of it with you guys. That specific episode might have made me the most mad, where I'm like, what the fuck? You killed this in the first minute.
Yeah, I don't.
That episode kept
That's
getting
that's endemic
worse.
of that summarizes the whole show. It's like there are no one-off episodes.
So I want to get right into it here, and I have to get this out now before I forget it.
Okay.
Cowboy Bebop is about the past and how it affects you. Like that's kind of everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody on the Bebop is like shackled by their past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very noir.
Most of the like even the one-off characters are in some way like fixated on the past, down to that one character who's literally trapped as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vicious and Julia are less real characters than Allegory. Not that they don't exist, but their role in the story is more to serve as, in Julia's case, being like the thing that Spike really wishes wants back but can never get back. And Vicious being like the thing he wants to run away from, but he knows he eventually has to confront. And what I just said explains infinitely more about Cowboy Bebop than anything in this fucking Netflix show.
Well, the Netflix show, by and large, doesn't even have characters. Like,
Yeah, it's not about anything. It
definitely is
like-
not about anything. It's hard to be about a thing and have nothing resemblant of humans.
It's about their appreciation of the Dutch angle.
Yeah,
Oh my fucking
I really
God.
abhor that they realized there's some great composition and cinematography in Cowboy Bebop, and their way of tackling this was just Dutch angles and swinging from one Dutch angle to another along with emotion.
There's maybe like
Yeah.
80 in the entire show.
There were a
And
lot
the
of things that I should have felt during the viewing of a live action Cowboy Bebop remake, and chief among those emotions should not have been, oh man, I remember Big Bad Beetleborgs.
That was
That
that
show
I did
ruled.
think of that. I really thought of that during the Mad Pierrot episode.
Yeah.
With him literally T-posing back down. What? Okay, why of the episodes they chose to pick? They chose all the goofiest ones with the most that would require the most special effects, and none of the bottle episodes. What the fuck is wrong with them?
I don't know, because it was clear they didn't have the budget to do a whole lot, which is why most of this show is Spike and Faye, or Spike and someone else talking about doing things instead of doing things.
Yeah.
That's not true, Dan. Half of the show is Vicious zoomed in the camera in a fisheye lens making weird faces.
Yeah,
How?
Vicious had
How
3
and
sets.
why? Vicious.
Uh-huh.
Like he just okay. Expanding his character out to 800%, sure, whatever.
300,000%.
Assuming that you can have a human being look and act like Vicious and it not be clown shoes. Sure, I get it. You are an idiot. The guy you picked to play Vicious always looks like he's about to cry because he has to poop and he doesn't want to.
I have to apologize to the actual Vicious, because I said Vicious sucks, and I still think Vicious kinds of sucks. This Vicious, why would you make your primary antagonist someone who is such a little bitch.
That was so much where we made that podcast. You're like, he sucks. He's only there for like 10 minutes. And then
Doesn't
we
even
have
have
to
a
deal
character.
with this where, oh man,
Monkey's paw.
and now it's like, oh
It
man,
was-
we got a short section of Vicious in this Netflix episode. He was there for 15 minutes.
Best part, I already knew what they did with Vicious when we recorded that, so that's why I go ahead, Feel. Because I'm just like, I'll let him say it because this is now a tragedy arc.
God damn it.
I can't believe I was expected to believe that this person like had an unquenchable thirst for violence and blood. I'm like, no, he's just a bitch.
Yeah, this Vicious very explicitly like isn't a cool murder man at all. He's just a whiny little fucking toddler.
Yeah.
Right down to the fucking generic shitty backstory of why no you love me, daddy.
Yeah,
it
it's
sucks.
really pathetic. It's like, how do you think this is good in any way? In any universe, would anyone want this as the villain of anything, much less Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, no, it's insane.
If the point is that he was pitiful, that's one thing, but it's not. He's supposed to be intimidating. They play. I can't. You would not spend 20 minutes of every episode of him trying to be intimidating if you didn't want the audience to think he was intimidating.
Right? Instead, he just comes off as pathetic for 20 plus minutes on episode.
I just remembered who he reminds me of. To anyone out there who still remembers Game of Thrones and didn't have it neuralized from your brain by the ending, in like season 1, Daenerys Targaryen's older brother who gets molten metal poured on his face, he is that character.
Oh, that's good. I wish this guy had molten metal poured on his face during the show.
He just reminds me of Gideon Graves from the Scott Pilgrim movie.
No,
Gideon was way stronger.
Gideon's perfect. He chews gum shittily in your face while telling you how he cucked you, and then he tries to sign a contract with you.
Vicious does not cuck Spike. It's the opposite. Vicious is constantly crying because he knows he was cucked by Spike.
I know, and it's terrible because it's just like, I know, like we're watching this, and me and Bob are talking about it. And we're trying to come up with metaphors that explain the Hollywood system. And Bob's like, it's amazing that Hollywood can make this out of anything. And I'm like, yeah, Hollywood is like the world's shittiest pancake maker, where it's like, we can turn anything into this bad pancake. And it feels like Vicious is that, right? They needed Vicious to be someone they knew and hated in real life. So he's the son of someone important who's a piece of shit, who's jilted that his girl ended up with another guy. Like, it feels like, oh, isn't that such a real character I wrote? And it's like, yeah, it really sucks.
Yeah, you pulled this character out of stock. Good job.
Good job.
That's what you did with everything.
As bad as Vicious got of just trying to blindly extrapolate all this random stock bullshit out of a single note character, he is nowhere as bad as Julia.
She's the worst. Fuck her.
She exists because, like, everybody who didn't vote for it in that cursed content episode, this whole thing just missed the point.
Yeah,
You know what this actress's because a lot of people are going to bat for the actors in this, and I think they were, most of them, fucked by this horrible script.
Yeah, definitely.
Who can make any of that sound good?
Julia, her performance is like
Wood?
it's like, remember Gone with the Wind? when Clark Gable like backhands Vivian Leigh, and she's like laying on the ground going, "Where will I go? What shall I do?" That's her entire performance as this character. It's like the most pathetic. They've made the most useless, annoying, stupid, unlikable damsel character I've ever seen, and then had the fucking gall to do a press cycle saying they fixed the female characters of Cowboy Bebop, who, by the way, were created and written by a woman.
yeah, no, that's the part that's absolutely insane. It's like every female character in this, every character in this has become so much less human. It's insane to say that you've done them a service. Like Faye Valentine and her, quote, mother sitting there having to yell about sex because they're women. Like, all these things about what these characters do sucks so bad.
During that one scene with her and her mother trying to get a car or whatever, I just started closing my eyes because I was like, I can't deal with this. I can't get up. I'm just going to close my eyes for a minute.
Me personally, I don't think Julia's actor was all that great. Vicious is terrible. I'm not the biggest fan of Jet, but obviously he's nowhere near those two. Not even fucking close. But what I do want to say is that out of everyone in this cast, the person I feel the worst for is Gren, because Gren doesn't have a character. Gren's actor, they're exceptional. The fact Gren's been reduced to basically furniture.
Gren shouldn't have been here.
Yeah, when Gren acting next to Julia, and you're like, man, she's really not holding up her end of the deal at all.
We just have this dialogue between Julia and Gren. Gren's acting their heart out. Julia's a plank of wood.
Yes.
This generic fake-looking bar that they made, centerpiece of this series, is horrible.
That's important.
It feels like it would fit in a Star Wars fan film.
It does. It feels like a prequel fan film.
It does.
You play the Cantina music in here.
You go into
I'm being
the cave.
entirely serious. I think a lot of these sets were from a canceled third season of Altered Carbon.
I believe you. Just face value. I do.
I believe you. I haven't seen an episode of Altered Carbon, but you're probably right.
Like, I looked into, like, the people who were directing and writing some of these episodes.
I noticed the names were different every time.
Actually, there was, like, one director who did most of them.
Yeah, Michael Cattleman, who directed about 4 episodes, I believe.
Okay.
No, there was somebody who did even more, who did 5, which was Alex Garcia Lopez. And the reason that stuck out to me is because that person did a bunch of the Netflix Punisher show. I mean, the Netflix Marvel shows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this kept reminding me of, like an idiot's version of it. Remember how Kingpin was like basically the star of season 1 alongside Matt Murdock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like we were always cutting to fucking Vincent D'Onofrio.
Mm-hmm.
That was they're trying to do that with Vicious, and it just is the worst.
Yep.
And that bar reminds me of like Kingpin's immaculate apartment, but it's white instead of like black and gold.
God,
like it was a very similar set to me.
This sucks. I liked Kingpin. This was like cutting back to the fucking dumpster.
At least that show had action that didn't. Have you ever watched like something in an American thing with really shitty fight choreography where it's like on a beat and isn't anything how a person would actually fight?
Yeah.
So somebody swings a sword and the other person like goes up and blocks it with like the cross arm on their wrist, and that's one beat. And then there's like a beat where neither of them move for no reason. They're just still for a second. And then like the guy who blocked it will like do a flip and try to twist the sword out of their hands. That's every fight scene in this. All of them.
Yeah, and it specifically leads into like right about episode 3, I couldn't take it anymore. And in a desperate bid to protect myself, I started pretending that this show was made in 1997 by someone who was pretty sure that none of his bosses would ever have heard of this Japanese cartoon he found in the back of a Blockbuster. So he just starts ripping off everything and putting it in this TV show he's writing.
But see, that means we're ripped off there too, because David Hayter wasn't in this.
No, I'm just like, yeah, that's why they suddenly made that one dude even more like Batman Returns Penguin.
Every episode has so much to go into how bad it is that taking a broad view and trying to make a statement about any of it is difficult because it's infinitely dense. I do want to say,
keep going character by character.
Yeah, that's probably the best way. For me, I'm going to try to just be like the first 2 episodes, I was already staggeringly disappointed over what it could have been and what it was. By the time I hit the halfway point, I was filled with nothing but despair. And then somehow, even at this point, the next 5 episodes disappointed me so thoroughly. For example, I believe it's episode 9, the entirely flashback episode. I'm like, everything you wrote here sucks.
It's the worst. It's just the most. First of all, fuck you. Like fuck everybody who wrote this having to do that. You know those silly anime names? Those aren't anyone's real names. Vicious isn't his real name. That's his mob name. Spike's mob name is Fearless. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, genuinely terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole fearless thing is just so bad.
Every time
It took me 3 episodes to come to grips with that.
Something I want to get out there before we move too far past it.
Sure.
This game, this movie, this TV show, whatever this is,
this sludge.
it looks terrible at all points just from a camera level.
It does.
Just everything looks blurry or vignetted in a horrible way.
or slanted.
Yeah, you brought it up, and at some point, Bob started to question my setup. Bob's like, "You have 4K Netflix, right?" And I'm like, do you remember you watched Auntie Donna's Funhouse, and that shit looked 19 times as sharp?
Yeah, and then I was
And
just...
it's a fucking comedy show.
I didn't know things on Netflix look that sharp until you played that like a month ago.
I was just flicking through other random Netflix-sponsored shows last night just to be like, maybe this is typical for a Netflix show. No, I couldn't find anything that looked this bad.
Yeah, this
whole thing looked like mid Toku from the 90s.
Yes.
It was already outpaced by stuff like I remember watching House of Cards for a few seasons. That first season from 10 years ago or 7 years ago looks better shot than this and crisper. And I bet that I don't even know if that's 4K.
I think it's 4K. That was made by Fincher, David Fincher. So he has a boner for red cameras, so I'm pretty sure he filmed that shit on a 4K. Yeah, that thing looks a million times more expensive. This show has no money, and I don't know what choices they made with the camera or the optics, but it looks terrible.
Since you're talking about like the look and the cameras, I sat in intermittently and then watched other parts on my own due to crazy schedules. Episode 6. That was the episode where they put Spike in the simulation, and you were able to point out the exact effect in the certain editor they used.
Yeah, no, it's in a color grading software. I've used it before. It's something you should basically never use.
Yeah,
And
I think that might even just be in Vegas, honestly.
Yeah,
You're
Vegas probably has a similar one, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
because
this
it's
is
just
the cartoon one in Resolve.
it just looks so bad, just immediately.
And as soon as you point it out, I'm like, this is the worst I've ever seen anything look.
I couldn't believe they did a whole episode like that.
It looks like Dragon Ball Evolution. That's the thing that kept jumping out to me, where it has the same sort of like, we have no money green screening.
Yeah.
Even that looked better, but I can see where you're coming from.
Imagine the whole thing was the motorcycle scene, which looked like an SNL skit.
Yes. I hope you were going to mention it.
Like that scene in episode 2 where Spike and Jet have the bomber at gunpoint.
Yeah.
It just looks like an SNL skit, or the entirety of the Pierrot LaFaux episode where like they're in the alleyway after they're bowling. That shit looks fake.
That shot where
that
you're
was
like
a set.
yeah, when you're looking at that shot where they're like showing them from really up high and just showing that street, it looks like a PlayStation 2 cutscene.
And I think that was on purpose. Like they're trying to do. What I have to assume this is what they're trying to do. I can't believe they were just like, no. It looks bad on purpose. I have to assume it's like what Scott Pilgrim the movie did, and let me make it clear: they failed on a level almost comical. But it's like they're trying to do that, or like Snyder-esque hyper reality, because the thing Zack Snyder does is like, I know this looks fake. That's the point. You're not supposed to buy that this is real. It's supposed to look like live action fused with being comic booky.
Yeah.
Like a lot of stuff in 300 looks like that.
I mean, also, I always think of the scene where Superman's Jesus and he's carrying the person down and everyone's like, holy shit, Superman. And it's like this really dramatic scene where Superman's the most serious looking motherfucker in the world and everything's golden.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of stuff in the Snyder cut of the Justice League that looks like that. And that's what I think they have to have been trying to convey.
Yes, they were absolutely trying to do that, but like I said, they ended up looking like the Spirit.
I can't even break that waveform of like, there's no part of this where you could even begin to imagine that there was an artistic vision behind it.
Yeah, I mean,
It
most
just
of
seems like
these-
we put a camera on a tripod and then we go.
A lot of this seems to have the same energy we had with our fucking live action YouTube channel. Many shots are, we shot it wide enough, don't worry. We got her walking away and him being in the kitchen in one shot. We did it.
Oh, there was totally that shot where the mechanic woman leaves after, I guess, fucking Faye again. It's like, you said, don't worry, we got both of them in the shot at the end. We did it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it comes off as that. There were protracted dialogue moments where they just had a shot wide enough to have the whole cockpit, and then they just walk from place to place saying their dialogue, not really motivated actions in what they're doing. It just seems so bad.
Like, especially the scene where Pierre LaFaux is walking toward that emo clown outfit for no fucking reason, and he starts quoting Blade Runner for no fucking reason. My brain went, Aggro, why are you watching a Snick show? This is Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I was so furious. I was screaming. I'm like, there's no way, because he starts really slow. I'm like, there's no way they're just doing the speech from when he dies in Blade Runner. And then he finishes that, and then later in the same episode, Jet makes a reference to Tannhauser Gate. And
the Tannhauser Gate. Oh
I
my
get
God.
furious. I'm like, okay, I know this writer's different from most episodes. They should be thrown into space. They should not be let near a pen and paper ever again. This is not okay.
They'll be frozen in space and look just as good as the woman from the first episode.
There's just so much here that boggles the mind. Why did they change how Faye was introduced instead of doing that episode, instead of the ones that you would have to fill with horrible special effects?
Oh,
I don't know.
Faye's introduction. Feel I spent all of Faye's introduction cursing your name.
Yeah, that checks out.
She pulls out that push dagger and starts swinging for Spike's dick, and I'm like, oh no, feel, and then she kicks Spike in the dick, and I'm like, feel.
It's fine. No, it's fine. She gets kicked in the groin in a later episode. And it's a very funny joke. God. The person responsible for it should be put in prison.
God, there's so many bad things about Faye. The thought that we need to team up with you because this band of villains we're going after, this bounties we want, are 4 people, and we're only 2, Spike. And it's like, what are you talking about? Why? I mean, how many times have you gone for a bounty that's more than 3 guys?
The opening shot of this series is them going after 5 people.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
Can we talk about the opening?
The opening of the series.
I really like them combining the Faye Valentine casino episode with the opening of the Cowboy Bebop movie in the most fucking clumsy way possible.
Yeah.
One moment, we're standing on the play floor for the casino, which isn't that big. It must be the world's shittiest casino, where we need to hack the computer in this room to steal the money.
That reminded me, and Dan's gonna laugh. It reminded me of Sliders.
Yes,
where they're doing the national sport in the half a school's gymnasium.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. I was offended when they showed the cigarette thing, but it was just a horrible plastic prop. It was like, really? That's how you're opening the show?
I can't believe they did the opening fucking fight from the movie where I'm like, oh good, this show shares the same DNA as Ruby, that also said they directly just lifted the Cowboy Bebop movie for their opening fight scene.
Fucking the thing that pisses me off about how they did it in the show is it was an early signal. They're like right up front, like, hey guys, what's up? We're Netflix Cowboy Bebop, and we completely missed the fucking point of everything in this show.
You can see we're already going the wrong way. In fact, it's the opposite way you were expecting anything good to go.
Because he's robbing the casino and he's making that speech about how, like, oh, the corpos are taking everything. And I'm like, I don't know. What are you doing? No. Why is this guy making a speech about something that makes any goddamn sense? And, like, later in the episode, Jet is, complaining, oh, the corporate control the gate and they nickel and dime us. And then we completely drop that thread.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that the director of this, one of the directors or one of the showrunners, was like, we don't think that this was a dystopia, despite it obviously being a cyberpunk dystopia, because it's so diverse. And I'm like, a racist couldn't have come up with a worse, like, an answer mocking you that is worse than that. What are you doing?
Aggro, they have absolutely no room to continue plot threads like that because they're busy talking about how Jet's just a cool guy with an ex-wife and a child.
Oh my God! Fuck his kid.
Okay, that plot
Fuck
point.
Jet's
That
kid.
plot point.
Fuck Jet's kid into the center of the earth.
Oh no!
See, there there is a theoretical version of this show that exists where I would be okay with that backstory
Same.
because part of the original show is that like Faye is not so attached to her past that she can't escape and move forward. And if in a show that wasn't written by a moron, you would use the ex-wife and the kid as Jet's way to move past the past. Except the fact that he's like constantly talking about his kid and like wanting to provide for her, kind of why is he a bounty hunter? Why didn't he just like get a job?
Yeah, it's dumb. It ruined the whole fucking thing.
I mean, if you really want to drive the stake into the heart of the issue, it's not even he wants to provide for her. He wants to get her this doll. It's the worst, dumbest version of this.
God.
Yeah, and then he has to be at a recital.
It's fucking
like
Jingle all the way.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
okay. This drove me insane, and you guys need to tell me, reassure me that this was not in the original show, and I just forgot.
Okay.
Where Spike says, "You know they can regrow your arm," and Jet says, "No, I don't want to for some reason I'll never elaborate on."
they do that does come up in the original show
Okay.
Okay.
because Faye actually has that conversation with them.
It's okay. It's gonna be okay. All right.
No, they have other fantastic universe building ideas they shoved into this that made me go insane.
Yeah, every single sci-fi idea they came up with was the stupidest thing known to man.
And
Yeah, everything they added or changed technologically made the show worse.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why I know because they think the audience is fucking morons.
They fucking
Yeah.
get it.
It's
Like,
like-
oh, we have super accurate holograph fucking full dive VR conversations.
you-
But this guy's using an analog adding machine because we think it's quirky and we don't understand the setting.
No.
Not not just that, but like the hollow disguises because they were too cowardly to have super plastic surgery, which is way better.
The
And
holo
also-
disguises are so stupid. They have a scar on your arm for having a holographic device. What?
For your face, even.
Yes.
It doesn't even sound like it does much more than surface level, right?
Right.
Like it doesn't make you appear taller
No.
or fatter
Like,
or
why would
anything else.
implanting that make it work better?
I know-
You think that should have to be external?
Yeah, I mean, that scene in fucking episode 10 shows that, it doesn't matter. You fucking,
And then-
they drive up to the thing and there's just a hologram standing way out there, far away from anything seemingly projecting it. It could just be anywhere. Why do you need to embed it in your fucking arm?
Yeah.
I think the most consistently terrible looking thing in this whole show is when they show a screen someone's using and it looks like the Double Dragon movie.
Okay, we got to
When they
talk.
have a
We got to talk about that scene. We have to
Okay,
talk about
like,
the worst case of
well,
this
hang
scene.
on.
Sure.
Because Phil, you would be correct if Vicious's hair wasn't a thing.
Vicious in general just looks like a cartoon character. I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah,
Like,
he
you're not
was
a
in- he
person.
was the
Why is your
villain in
face like that?
He was the villain in Shrek, so of course he's animated.
The screens in this, they clearly didn't know what it was going to look like exactly when they shot it. So they just shoot scenes sometimes where the screen pops up and now you can see neither character's face at all through this blue fucking bright as shit screen. It's so terrible.
Yeah,
Like some of the shots, they luckily did not frame it for that. Other ones, they have to fade out the screen so that way you can see them once they start acting. But there's one in the first 3 episodes where it's just like, I can't see their faces at all, guys. I'm sitting here staring at nothing basically because there's nothing on screen that I can look at that's interesting. You've popped a transparent, terrible-looking holographic display between me and the actors. There's nothing going on in the scene. This isn't framed interestingly. The dialogue isn't great. No, like, Jesus Christ. Like,
The fact you could make a physical prop that just had a dummy screen on it.
just... There are so many layers with this fucking show.
Yeah, there's a lot going on constantly where you're like, why did you... What did you think? And they're like, we're going to make...
That's it.
What did you didn't think at all? We're going to make a strong female character. What makes her strong? She curses 3 times more than anyone else, and she has sex.
In general,
and
this
loudly
show,
talks about
we'll
whether or
get-
not her vagina's tight as a drum.
Yes.
We'll hold that fucking thought for a second. It bothered me a lot how, like, in the opening scene, I think, in that bad opening scene, I think Spike kills more people than he kills in all of the actual
Yes.
anime.
Why is he such a fucking psycho?
It's just like
Yeah.
this is we remember why people liked HBO Prestige TV. We think so. Everybody's constantly incredibly crude and murdering people.
Yeah, like he's never overly concerned with making sure that the sanctity of human life is respected in the original, but fuck, in this one, he's just that bug from Rick and Morty. He's like, here I go killing again.
In the original, it felt like as you learned more about Spike's backstory, it felt like it made sense. Like he realized that he had been manipulated into killing a bunch of people for the syndicate, and he didn't want to kill people anymore. Like if he had to, he would. But it was something he would rather not do. And this Spike has no kind of character like that. He's just a psychopath. I have no reason why anyone would be on his side at the end.
I absolutely ignored everything about this show because I didn't think I was going to have to watch it prior to it coming out. So I did not know at all who the actor for Spike was before he showed up on screen.
Oh my God.
And then you're like, yo, it's Harold.
I got blindsided. And I'm like, okay, let's see what he can... Okay, you kind of learned Wing Chun for this. That's weird.
Hey, given the material, I don't doubt that everyone's struggling to figure out what the fuck the deal with their character is.
Okay,
Yeah.
That is what I think happened with Mustafa Shakir and Jet. I think he has seen Cowboy Bebop, and any weird thing with his performances is like conflict between what he knows the character should be and what they gave him.
That was the worst. He was trying. He was trying. That man could do a killer Jet, and he was not allowed to.
It's like, it's so bad.
Because then they would just do some insane thing with him. And I'm like, oh, God, here we go. You're drunk again.
Early on, I thought since this thing was finding its own things to decide it was about, that they would take the time to develop Gren. I sincerely, early on, thought Gren was going to get a whole backstory.
Yeah, because otherwise, why the fuck is Gren here?
Do you want me to tell you?
It's literally just
Do you
Lords
want
of
me
Shadow.
to tell you?
Lords of Shadow, they have proper nouns and they just hand them out.
Yeah, they just
with
got
the wind up.
What do you got, feel?
Gren in Netflix Bebop fills the same role as the background two women kissing do in a Disney movie.
Yes.
They are there to be brought up in the press cycle and nothing else.
Yeah.
That would hurt normally. It hurts more because like they showed up and like they named them like, oh, that's Gren. I'm like, why the fuck is Gren here? And why the fuck do they have so much stage presence? That is completely inappropriate for this show.
Yeah.
Everything in that fake bar and everything related to Vicious and his mafia is just so irredeemably bad.
What was the name of the woman who owns the bar?
Anna.
So that was Anastasia.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the lady who owns like the
Convenience
cigarette
store.
shop, the tobacco
God,
store.
like I thought about it the first couple of times she was on screen, but then I got too deep in the morass, and I had to stop trying to pretend anything in this was from the original.
Yeah, there's so many good characters here, like the dude who was working with Vicious, who drinks tea and eats testicles.
Oh, that character.
Santiago.
Yeah.
Why was Mao Yenrai a blacksmith?
I don't know.
That honestly floored me more than anything else. I was like, what?
It's another one of those Lords of Shadow moments. They have a name and they just want to get it out there. It's like the farthest from
Spot
Mao
on.
you can think of.
You're supposed to be
It's
the
like
head of like a crime organization, like some faction of it. But you're a blacksmith? How does...
And then Mao originally is like an old man who's just tired of it and wants to move on and finally done with the blood war. And Mao in this is exactly the option of being kind of still young and hot-headed and willing to go through as a coup. It's like,
Can we talk about how it's probably super racist that the heads of the Red Dragon Syndicate, like at least one of them is an old white guy wearing an old Chinese guy mask?
That drove me fucking up a wall. You fucking hacks. It's called an anime, you dipshit. The character just looked like that. You don't have to put them in costumes. You could just have them be a person.
It's fucking Kmart Palpatine underneath. It's so sad.
I immediately got like some episode 3 vibes during the grand,
Isn't it?
during the grand coup scene.
It feels somewhat the same way of like, oh, the Spike knows martial arts, so obviously he's Asian. Like that also comes off as vaguely racist.
See, I really, I 100% think, because when this was cast, we were coming right off that Ghost in the Shell movie. So they cast who they cast, because it's like, well, everybody screamed when they, cast Makoto Kusanagi as a white woman, so we can't cast the guy implied to be Jewish as a Jewish guy.
Yeah, it was it's an inspired choice.
Yeah, I like John Cho a lot. I'm real sad that he was in this.
Honestly, I think his performance is probably the best one in this, and it must be a real fucking struggle given what they handed him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just felt bad because it's like, oh man, your name's got to be attached to this. But he was doing okay.
Like, Spike is an interesting character in this show. He's not Spike Spiegel,
No, he's fearless.
but he's an interesting character. Which, like, if you completely divorce this show, as I did for most of it, by pretending some guy was just ripping off Bebop while doing lines of coke in the early 90s, there's like a pretty mid sci-fi show in here. It's not good, but it's wacky and original.
You know what I don't like though? What I really don't like is that traditional thing, like, this HBO core, Netflix series core. We're setting up a large, interesting, in quotation marks, crime drama arc as this thing gets set up and it executes across the entire season. You're definitely going to want to keep watching because of the vicious plot line. And I'm like, no, because it's bad, two-dimensional. It only goes in one direction and it barely goes anywhere at all. Like, you fucked this up. Do you understand? Like, it gave me, like, a number of different series do this, but it really did remind me of the worst seasons of Castlevania Netflix, where it's just like, we set up this thing, but we're afraid to move the needle fast at all. So we're going to get barely any of what we say this is about done by, and then the last episode happens and we're like, okay, we need to wrap that up and wrap this up. It's terrible because these episodes are huge.
Honestly, I know it makes me a bad consumer of media, but I loved when Castlevania the Netflix did that shit.
Yeah, I also love when Castlevania
They were
Netflix
like,
did
pacing? The fuck is pacing? Fuck you. I'm going to make another goat fucking joke.
that. Yeah. I can't even approach liking anyone on the vicious side of the show at all. I at least had God branded fucking Castlevania.
Remember, was it episode 3 or episode 4 where you can see the writer, you can see Yost, Christopher Yost, going, Vicious doesn't really have a good reason to keep fucking with Spike. They're kind of like detached. I guess I'll have Spike threaten to kill him and shoot a sniper rifle at him for no reason.
Right?
That was insane. Like that, I kept trying to figure out how that even worked in. Like why anyone would do that.
That was the peak of me trying to figure out how much of a blood-hungry psycho Spike was.
It was like this Spike is like, well, Vicious has an insecurity complex and inferiority complex, both of which kind of have me as the focal point. Seems like he'll mostly leave me alone from now on because I killed the guys he sent after me. I guess I better tell him I could kill him at any time.
Here I go killing again.
I think it's really funny that the actor for the guy who steals the red eye in the first episode with the lady, his voice is so an impersonation of the guy from the US dub for the anime. It's incredible.
Yes, it is.
He was the only one where I'm like, okay, at least I'm certain you've seen Bebop because you're doing the same voice.
It's too bad they cut out some of your cool moments and replaced them with Faye.
It's really unfortunate when Megan 64 showed up.
Bob, that's the Syndicate,
Oh,
please.
I'm sorry. Dude, the Syndicate looks so fucking funny.
It's episode 1. That scene is the breaking point when you realize this show is unsalvageable. Like in the 10 minutes between the guy in the bar making a cupcake joke
Yeah.
and them changing how he dies.
Remember in the original show when he's talking to the guy about the red eye and the guy pulls out like a testing device to test that it's pure, and in this he just makes a really bad joke for no reason?
Yep.
Well, no, he doesn't pull out a tester. That's Jupiter Jazz when they have the
Oh,
tester.
that's
for
Jupiter
Red Eye.
Jazz.
Yeah.
That's right.
He does make him take it.
Yeah.
And he didn't it's the best line in the dub, and they just don't say it in this show. And I was so pissed. Oh yeah, keep those eyes open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that made it into commercial material stuff.
So episode 1, did anybody else notice the part where Vicious kills a guy with a jump cut?
Yeah.
Where they want to do like an anime-esque thing where he draws the katana and cuts through a guy really fast, but they don't know how to do that because they're incompetent.
Uh-huh.
So
God,
he puts his hand on it, they show him start to move, and then it hard cuts to the guy on the ground with his throat cut in a Dutch angle.
Yes.
I forgot because that was all the way back in episode 1 and 100,000 other horrible things that happened since.
I was so
That shot sticks in my mind because that's the shot where you see that he has a belt buckle with that bird on it.
Is that what the ring is about? That's also the bird? And because they don't
was
want to make
ring
the
also
bird?
the bird? Yeah, they don't want to make the bird. Honestly, there is some hats off to the costuming department. There is some great cosplay in here.
That's what fooled me. Because
Yeah.
everything leading up to this was like, they're getting the costumes. They seem to understand what it's supposed to look like at some level. But then we get to watch it, and every single writing decision is the
Yeah.
worst ever made.
Writing and directing is bad. A lot of the design and art side of this was immaculate.
So I think that it's funny that Vicious wears the actual Syndicate robes, and then everyone else wears the discount stuff that looks like that I keep saying is Mega 64 outfits.
Are you talking about the suits?
Yeah.
I don't think they wore the suits with the red till the last 2 episodes.
Because every time I remember seeing someone from the Syndicate, they wore the full cape like Vicious does, like the full jacket thing.
Except in the tower. In the last 2 episodes of the original, all of the goons were wearing the suits with the one red lapel.
Huh. I didn't even remember that because
They just threw things wherever they wanted because they thought certain things were cool. It's like how the big church area, that's cool. So that has to be where the show ends, which I started dissolving around episode 7 when I realized that's probably how they have to do that now.
God, that was the worst. Which of you on Twitter retweeted that shit where they showed the shot comparison between the anime with the stained glass window and this show, and how the show had switched it 45 or 90 degrees to make it look more like the Funko Pop.
Yeah, that
I did not retweet that.
I did not see that.
Yeah, I because that's the official Twitter account released that comparison, Aggro.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
they did.
They were very
They released
proud.
a lot of these They released 5 or 6 of these comparisons. It's who was it that said your movie should never remind someone of a better movie? that's what their marketing for this whole show was. After a point, it was 1-to-1 comparisons of shots. They did a shot where the Bebop in this show is landing on the water and everything is brown, with the one in the anime where there's colors. I'm what are you doing?
Yeah, if I was the marketing team for this series, the fact that the original Cowboy Bebop anime exists would be my best kept secret.
Unfortunately, Netflix just got Cowboy Bebop on this network a month before this came out.
Yeah, I know. It was a week or 2 before fucking the show was actually out. They're like, here, it's right here for you. And it's you do not need to try and make a comparison shot between your lower budget live action show with CG to peak Sunrise anime.
Every time a song from the series would start playing, it just didn't fit at all.
Yeah, it was
No,
just depressing.
not at all. It was like going down a checklist.
Yeah, it was every time a name showed up, this isn't right.
I started turning to stone when they go up to that church and they just start playing the song and everything. And I'm like, oh, I gotta get out. If I close my eyes, I can pretend I'm watching the actual show.
Right? I'm like, you are correct. I don't feel a thing. And then I start remembering.
It's really funny because now the lyrics don't fit at all.
I know.
Yeah.
It's man, you didn't get anything at any
They
level.
should have just played the Donkey Kong song again.
You know,
About the Donkey Kong.
You know, I know it marks me out as fucking. There's a great metaphor about how terrible the changes in the show are compared to what they kept the same, and the reasons they did both. That Spike still has his Jericho, Faye still has her Glock 30, and Jet has that shitty fucking Chiappa revolver for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
And the really
I mean,
weird
they have
The
a rail
same
gun.
reason he has a daughter.
They have a small rail gun now, and that's very cool.
I don't
And
like.
there's an
I don't like the.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
like
know.
the weird addition of sci-fi weapons, like right there in that intro.
Yeah, yeah, you knew
He's got a
immediately. Oh,
disruptor.
they're stupid.
Oh shit.
Yep.
It's like, wait, you have guns that can just like, what?
That fucking rail cannon shit.
Why did you bring the gun that can punch through anything to a heist in a space station?
Yeah, I don't know. It's stupid because every time they introduce new technology, it's stupid.
Yeah, it's
Oh, another fucking, and the one that really fucking upset me. Why is Ian a robot now?
I don't know.
Well, he was a
Oh
data
my
dog
God.
before, right?
Yeah, but that
he
was just like that was a thing that like got digested or whatever, right? And then he's just a normal dog. Like
Well, they
even
don't really
say
go
that at the
into
end
it.
of
But
that
yeah,
episode.
it was just they mess with his head, and he's like a really smart
Yeah.
dog with a lot of intelligence.
Yeah, that's
No,
what I got
Now
before.
he's part
Now-
of some fucking corporate like chemical assassin production line that made a bunch of dogs and also this one guy that we helped up on Red Eye because we have to say the one thing that we said before because everything is connected.
yeah.
Yep.
The fact that they said they had to have the red eye to keep him under control, it just drove me. Oh.
Yeah, every single thing in this series just had to be connected in some way, no matter how
They said,
stupid it was.
When he was accessing Ein, the screen said like acid handshake. I think they were trying to design this guy to be an assassin with a pack of smart dogs, which, fuck, I'd read that manga.
If they, I think the episode that I hate the least is actually the one where they try to do Faye's backstory but without the guy, because a strong independent woman wouldn't be tricked by a man. God, because at least that has anything new, and I would rather them do new things than try to horribly do old things.
Yeah. Oh man.
Because that's all I've heard is, no, they're just trying to do something different. I'm like, these are all the same stories, just really, really
Yeah.
terrible, but also forcefully connected in the most contrived and fucking insulting ways.
The Scratch episode is we talked about already of how bad the VR looked, but also the insanity that was. Then the TV tower races out of the ground. And it's like,
Dan was
do you-
very upset.
Yeah,
do you
because
understand anything at all? Even one thing?
no, throughout the rest of that episode, you realize just to what extent they don't understand anything because it's like, who are you? What are you doing here? Radical Ed from Earth sent me up here to help out because Spike got kidnapped. Quick, we need to destroy the server. Oh no, the server's impervious. We have to go to Earth. And then they do that in 10 minutes.
While shoving a new radiator into their ship.
While it's already taking off. And that's what I promised myself someday. I'm going to treat cars and automobiles like bad sci-fi writers treat spaceships.
Don't forget that they're like, hey, Jet, don't take this visor off Spike's head. It'll fry his brain. Go to Earth and blow up the thing connected to the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That won't do it.
Yeah, don't
many-
take the power off. But the way to deal with this is turn the power off at the source. It's like, what? How is that different?
And then use your super science gun with a paperclip in it, and then that'll blow up the whole server.
And here's the thing that really fucking. Ooh.
I love those.
That they have that infatuation of like cramming in generic sci-fi shit into places where it doesn't work in this show. So they changed the backstory of the Scratch episode away from a really interesting and kind of scary sci-fi thing. Just being, it's an AI.
Yeah, that's the thing. They took the concept of virtual reality, exploring consciousness and other elements of like what makes us human, and turned it into it's a rogue AI that's going to erase your brain.
Yes.
I honestly
bad.
forgot how that episode ended.
Oh yeah,
Please
that's what it was.
explain it to me.
That's what it was.
Oh,
Lundis was an acronym, or I guess an initialism, for an AI that was designed by some guy, the guy who was trying to help out, and it was on Earth, and it went rogue all those years ago.
And it killed like 500 people, and then he like turned it off or whatever.
And then it somehow got back on, and now it's erasing brains again.
And if it makes you sad enough, it'll fully upload itself, and you will be its host or whatever.
Like I know that hyperbole is sort of the bread and butter of this kind of cathartic, hate-fueled review space.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm being entirely literal and sincere when I say that I forgot about that episode until somebody mentioned it earlier in this recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember how it ended, but I remember watching it, and I remember the feeling of just nothing sinking in because I felt like I was going crazy.
Yeah, it was because that was episode 6, so it was like the second half where you're like, holy shit, it's still going. It has the sex sequence in it with Faye. It has that gun that they're like, okay, I'll give you the gun because we can't use this in another episode.
When Faye has sex with a random mechanic because, like, I mean, sorry, we took away your original character. Here's this.
Yeah, this.
This is a strong, independent woman now. We did it. We figured it out. We cracked the code.
I like loops where you realize that you're looping something and you try to do different stuff. I always find that really interesting. I've never dropped off on something as fast as this, where it was like 20 seconds into attempt 2. I'm like, I really don't
because
care.
they don't explore anything in that loop. Nothing is explored. They're just yelling at you the basic positions of these characters, which you're already aware of by that episode.
Yeah, like 12 minutes sucks, but at least it could nail that aspect. I don't know how this show couldn't at least.
Because it's the dumbest version of what it could have been.
Yes, everything is the dumbest version it could have been.
The VR doesn't explore consciousness as a concept in the fucking least. The plot of the episode inside the loop doesn't explore anything about their relationship and how that could change, or their background, or how Spike feels about any of it.
Well, we can't do that because we have to have episode 9. We don't want to spoil episode 9.
The moment where I seriously considered just tapping out and trying to like bullshit my way through episode 9, talking about episode 9, 10, is the very start of episode 9 when it just opens with Vicious and Spike talking about their balls. And I'm like, every single person responsible for this should feel really bad.
Yeah.
Because that's the moment you realize this show is convinced that it has done enough work, that it has put in the time to earn doing whatever the fuck it wants. It's like we've already put all of these anime kids to bed. We've sated all of their little reference desires. Now we can really stretch our wings and do our own thing out here in the back part of the show, where it's adult time to let our genius spread its wings and soar. We're gonna do all of that syndicate shit that wasn't in the original show, maybe for a good reason. Oh my god, maybe the original show just had some flashbacks and cutaways for a reason, and everything we're about to do is really, really dumb and rote and boring and horrible.
Yes, everything about the final 2 episodes is a horrible nightmare where they keep having the freedom to do things. And
that was when I was like crawling through the broken glass, where it's like, this is so bad.
I kept pausing and like, do the math. All right, hour and 20 minutes. And then I keep watching, and then I pause it, do the math. Hour and 5 minutes.
And then you hit that last 20 minutes, and they're like, here's our big twist for the end of the show, and I'm like, I wish I was dead twice.
Oh my god.
This was written like, I get that this was written by a fucking moron. Like, I understand that. So, and ultimately the answer for any question I could come up with about discrepancies and things not making sense is they're an idiot. But why would Julia be the head of the syndicate now?
Yeah, why would there be anyone to put her in charge of that? Who would?
Well, because that's very empowering, and she's a girl boss now.
Yeah,
she wasn't anybody. She was just like the fuck doll of this crazy psycho person who was who killed people.
Well, no, but feel girl boss.
Yeah, the girl boss, and she has that line of dialogue where she chains the dude up like an even worse version of some of the stuff in the Castlevania anime, and says, "Well, you're the head now, and I'll just say, as your wife, I'm taking care of everything, and I'm doing all public appearances, but you're fine back here."
Okay, we literally had a president that happened to, except he was into it. Shit. Which one was that?
While you try to remember that, I will point out, she sits there and says, it's normal for people to not see the elder. And I'm like, except for the part where the elders were in flesh wearing a mask this entire show?
Yeah.
So what you're saying right now clearly would not fly?
Except for the part where all the leadership just fucking like got eviscerated, and also they probably don't respect you, woman who constantly gets backhanded and sobs.
You mean the same lady who was told directly to be murdered by her husband? You don't think they're going to trust her?
Well, it's okay. They need to do that scene again, but with her being in power.
God.
Bookend it.
Yeah, I don't. It really is just girl boss at all costs. There's no stretch we will make the work.
That's a fucking t-shirt.
Girl boss at all costs. Yeah,
Woodrow Wilson.
Thank you.
I would have
nailed.
Woodrow Wilson, girl boss at all costs. Put that on a fucking shirt.
Fuck, I want that shirt.
We need to finally start making
I would have
merch.
given this show like any credit at all if they had just not done a cliffhanger at all, not done any sort of setup for a second season. Spike still throws the grenade like he does in Ballad of the Fallen Angels, and just eradicates her.
Yeah, no, I was really disappointed they didn't still have the grenade. Just come on.
What? The grenade is the only reason the song works in that scene, you morons.
There are so many layers, like the fact that once he finishes
there's
falling,
a parallel.
we cut to him later, and he's just walking and fine. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah,
Instead of a mummy like he is in the actual show.
that was so
No,
good.
yeah, he's walking along so he and Jet can have a setup for like, hey, were you excited for season 2? Now don't be.
Yeah. The ending was just so focused on being miserable, where it's like, yeah, Spike has to get shot out of a window by the person he loved, and Jet's been ruined utterly. Faye is that. Also, Ed is here, and I wish she was actually just an AI instead of the beach attempting to be accurate.
My
I'm
God.
honest.
I held off honestly thinking about Channel Awesome until Ed showed up.
Yeah, it becomes impossible at that point. Like, it's just
As soon as it popped up, I just felt unnerved.
It's just like, wake up, Spike. We have to go do the movie.
I'm like, whatever. They've done so many other bad things.
Right.
It's like that doesn't even register. It's just like, the
all
internet
of the-
spoiled this all like hours and hours ago. But it's like, who cares?
Bob, all of it registers because they just hit a different body part for me, so I just got welts everywhere.
Okay, yeah, I was like, this is no worse than anything else you've just done. Everything else has actually been me singing acid. I
Yeah.
finally was able to get out.
The only thing that registered, because the visuals, they look terrible, but the show looked terrible the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
And then casting of child, of course, it is a child, so of course it will be this child that can vaguely fit this silhouette. The part that kills me is like, yeah, Radical Ed got here from Earth to be here in the alley we keep shooting scenes in.
I hate that. They make a huge deal of all the dogs are gone in that episode 4 or whatever.
Yep.
And then it's just like, but we can still get Urs in like 10 minutes. Where'd the dogs go?
Also, there are multiple times where people just know how dogs are supposed to act and shit, and I'm like, which is it?
remember
Yeah.
remember in the fucking second episode of the real show when the pet shop owner is like, yeah, dogs aren't that rare. You can't get a whole lot from this. Maybe 200,000 Wulons, which, considering that I think Wulons are
she
supposed
means like
to be
10.
Yeah,
10
Oh, she said
Wulons.
like
yeah,
10.
Yeah, it was like, this
ridiculous.
is the most non-rare thing ever you
Yeah.
brought me.
Yeah, it's like this dog's basically worthless.
It was like, we breed these for meat 2 blocks away.
Right. Yeah, that was the tone. That was the tone of the whole conversation. But really, guys, We haven't talked about the number one problem with Bebop Netflix. Number one problem, it was VHS. It's supposed to be a beta.
Remember when they zoomed down on the VHS and we were just screaming?
Yes! Because I'm like, there goes a good episode into the flames.
Yeah.
Yup. Every decision had to be wrong. Like, this show had to have been made with, like, two girls kissing in the 90s, cruel intentions.
So I got distracted by this. The part where they ruined Faye the hardest.
Okay.
Faye should never have sex.
I mean, the huge part of what makes Faye is, and to some extent, the whole cast of Cowboy Bebop is she's a loser.
She's a loser. She reeks of desperation and
Right.
keeps trying to do the seductive thing, but fails because she's crass and doesn't know how to act. Having her fuck anyone is a betrayal of a core aspect of the character.
It is.
Yeah.
I'd like to piggyback on that because there's two ways that they ruined Faye.
Okay.
Like, this is a cross-axis thing. Like, one was, like, faithfulness, accuracy, and getting the point of, which, in the toilet. The other is do the cool thing and make me clap. And they fucked that up because she shows up in some random ass bullshit zipcraft, and I'm like, are we just not doing the red tail? And then she gets the red tail in the episode where, oh, it turns out all of your potentially interesting changes to your backstory are a weird sex play thing your mom's doing because that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yep.
They go on the set of Storage Wars for the finale of this episode.
Like, her mom's like, oh, like she shows the key. I'm like, oh fuck, that's the red tail's key. You bastards. You waited this long to try to make me clap, but it's too late. I've been watching the show.
Yeah, because that's like episode 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's episode 7. There's one normal episode left.
Normal.
Another horrible thing was Faye. We have that episode where Jet's doing his backstory episode, and they need a B plot still, so it keeps cutting to Faye and Spike sitting in the Bebop doing literally nothing.
Well, yeah, because it's the show's favorite thing to do. Talk about doing things instead of doing things because that's expensive.
and that's
It's almost like making these episodes an hour long was a real fucking mistake.
I mean,
Yeah.
even with the vicious padding, they could have been 30 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like physical action scenes in this. What are there, 4? Maybe?
Do you want to count that one that's happening in the background one at all? Where it's like,
I do, because honestly, as much as I hate everything that has to do with Jet's daughter, I thought that one was funny.
Yes, no, that was
that
good.
was the only part I laughed at in this whole
we
series.
found it, the one good scene.
I legitimately laughed a few times in this show, and then the fact that I laughed pissed me off.
The episode was Faye and Spike in the Bebop, where Faye turns into Big Bang Theory, and she has made up her own like 10 versions of Paper Rock Scissors, and they have to keep talking about it and making the worst jokes ever. It's horrible.
Oh my god! Yes, that episode has an encapsulation of like if you have to tell a friend nothing else about this show to dissuade them from watching it, like how bad could it be? They fucked up Big Shot. How fucking hard is that?
I feel like
But
they
it's
did Big
terrible.
Shock better than anything else they did do.
Like,
But
I'm
it's-
pretty sure they just got the two the two interns that work for Doug Walker now and are in every one of those videos. That was the energy.
I actually enjoyed Big Shot more than I enjoyed 98% of the rest of this. I genuinely laughed at Big Shot. I wouldn't say that was a home run, but there were good parts. The problem is in the episode Bob's talking about, they really just keep relying on it too much.
Yeah, like that one where it just kept going to it was bad. But the other time Big Shot showed up was only a minor thing, like it is in the original show, because that's how it has to work.
Well, they have to really draw attention to it so you clap.
Yeah, like they open it on episode 2, and I was shocked they even did it.
That episode where they're doing the Ganymede sea rats or whatever. Mm-hmm. Faye runs around that episode with a hole in her arm for 30 minutes straight,
Right.
and she will not dress it or anything, and just acts like it's not even there. It's like,
It's
how
like
does this
Starship
happen?
Troopers. I'm like, weren't you gunshot?
I wish she had fucking died.
Yeah, she should have just died
that
from
was
blood
my
loss.
that was something I really felt a lot. Is like she fucks them over so hard in this compared to the original show that like every time Spike pulls a gun on her, I'm like, he should just pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the
There's
way
no-
she's introduced, it's so much more uncalled for.
Yes. In every way, both times in episode 2 and episode 1, where episode 2 is like, yeah, so we're friends now. And I'm like, what? What are you fucking
And the fact
talking
that
about?
Spike doesn't shoot her because, you know, in this show, he thirsts for the light dying in humans' eyes.
Yes.
Well, they're friends because Jet's like, unfortunately, I looked at the script and she has to come with us from now on.
Yes,
Yup.
that's how it feels.
Yes.
It's like, sorry, guys, I have to both be Jet and Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon, so I'm going to be jackknifing really hard between my decisions.
God.
That
Yes.
is what that is.
Let me tell you about some bidets.
That's right, Jet. We're going to have a new guest character. Wow, Spike's DeClosa. That's
Right?
amazing.
By the time it's him and Spike at a diner and they serve them a whole basket of what is clearly white bread with American singles melted on, I'm like,
That
fucking, I
was
want
fine with
that basket. That's like that basket is this show. Please give it to me. I want to complete the experience.
This show is a basket of white bread with crab singles.
It is.
on it.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's tasteless.
I liked that being the cheese bread because they're like, because they have this weird thread in some scenes of like food being mostly fake bullshit.
Yeah, that's the
expensive.
weird tangent of the series that's like, why is this here?
Synth she
Because you
and
don't
fake
actually want to
teeth
say
and-
anything about it. You just want to have it as part of your dark setting.
That isn't
Yeah,
dystopic.
it's the thing that you do in sci-fi, so we did it.
Yeah, it's not a
that isn't
dystopia, though.
dystopic. But I liked it because it's like, oh, of course the all you can eat cheese bread is fucking white bread with American cheese on it.
Yeah, like it was the most shadow run this show got. I'm like, this is a fucking stuffer shack.
And then that whole set looked like they just took a background out of Fallout 4.
Oh my god. There's in this show there were 8 seconds where I was set completely adrift. Like, oh my god, did they make a radical choice? Is this show going to get better? For the 8 seconds between girl blacksmith Mao Yenrai cutting off what was ostensibly Vicious's head and it rolling across the floor in the Elder's Chamber, me thinking, holy shit, has this show made a bold narrative choice and we're going in a better direction? And then the VR disguise goes down and I go, no, we're going to have a bad action sequence.
That was maybe the worst one where it just has that beat. Everybody freezes for 2 seconds. They do their neck.
I mean,
and I figured out what it is. I
Okay,
figured
go.
out why that is. And I think what this is we can't get a stunt actor in this shot, and this is the best that the actor can do on the time frame we have to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of, oh, bless his heart, he's trying in this show.
It reminded me a lot of the Knights of Ren thing. Like the fucking red
Yes.
suit guys guarding.
It's very that was also what I thought of, except a million times worse. At least that
Oh, yeah,
scene was
100%.
interesting at all.
I had joy when they were just in the background doing
no,
shit.
they're hilarious. They flex.
Yeah, that was great.
They live in the big red dimension.
Yeah, this looked like
One of them falls in a wheat thresher.
This looked like a pathetic attempt to be Star Wars Episode 3 action scene.
That whole action sequence, it happens, and then he stabs his dad, and his dad is just dunking on him all the way to hell, and it's amazing. And then he does, because he's this guy, he does the chuniest shit ever, where he goes and like gets his katana, and then like you could see him check the blocking and make sure he's framed up in front of that circle thing, and just poses as the camera pulls out.
What? Why didn't they get another Asian guy to be vicious? That would have worked more than what they did.
Why didn't they get stunt actors to be both Vicious and Spike? I mean, they're not acting much.
Right?
Just get somebody who can actually do these fight scenes you apparently want to do, maybe?
That's the thing. They realized very quickly they didn't, which makes me go, why did you choose Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, because Cowboy Bebop is popular, and it's the anime that gets credit for not being an anime. It's not cringe like other animes, so we'll make it cringe.
Yeah, we'll make it 100 times cringier than anything in the original show.
Fuck.
That's in that
The
short.
balance must be maintained.
That's in that short list where it's like, I know you're old and you don't like the cartoons, but you try Cowboy Bebop, Death Note.
the fucking director of the Netflix one is just like, cringe? You don't even know cringe!
The Death Note Netflix is better than this.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm really not a fan of it,
Yeah.
but it 100% is markedly better than this. One,
Like,
at a fucking flat level, it looks optics, camera, cinematography well beyond this, because this is infantile.
It's way the fuck over in left field doing whatever the fuck it's doing. And this show, like to quote Goemon Ishikawa from Lupin III, a copy of a beautiful thing will always be an ugly thing.
That's really like at the end of the day, like, forget everything. Forget the bad acting. Forget the fucking horrible. Like, Cowboy Bebop had so many beautiful moments of melancholy and silence and nothing happening, but like Spike walking or something happening very slowly. You're not allowed to have that in a Netflix show, I guess. I guess everything has to be manic bullshit 100% of the time.
Everything they tried to recreate from the show was endemic to the medium. And you can't lift that in a recreation in a different medium. So none of that worked, and they missed all of the shit they could have adapted while they were doing their own stock Hollywood bullshit. And what we're left with is just this hollow silo.
Yeah, there are hundreds of shots in the original anime where the scene's action is thoroughly communicated through someone's physical stance and the look on their face. And there are 0 of these in this, because this needs to yell everything at you. And the worst part is it has nothing to yell. It's just yelling.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the original is so obviously inspired by Kung Fu cinema, noir films, all of these real things that have been captured in a camera before thoroughly. And they can't do it. They can't do even one of them. It never looks like it should.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, somebody made the joke before we went into this about this, like this was going to go the same way as the 2 FLCL episodes we did. And I really didn't think it was going to be anywhere near that exact arc.
Yeah, my statement was, though it will probably be as bad as those, and hell yeah, it was, it's not a sequel. It's not the canonical sequel. It's not canonical in the slightest to the original. The original, right? Whereas Fully Cooley, technically, those two are in the same universe.
Yeah.
So it would hurt less.
Yeah, we had to deal with lobotomized Haruko.
and fucking lightsaber guitars.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, though, 10 years from now, if you asked me if I wanted to watch either of the FLCL sequels or this, I'd fucking rewatch this for a laugh.
I wouldn't.
No, because at that point, Aggro, we will have another 3 seasons of this.
Yeah, I know. There will be another season, which that's
I hate you, Bob.
That's the idea that's been in my head the whole time of, will an eventual, if it happens, season 2 be worse than this somehow because they burned so much material they'll have to
can't.
make new shit.
It fucking can't. It can't exist.
I don't know if they're like the goal with these things is always upset the nerds so they rabble rouse.
Yeah. This was a stunt.
But actual like reviewers from like the Washington Post or whatever have to be like, whatever, it was inoffensive. I guess I'll give it a 7. But this is when multiple people are writing your show's dialogue is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Here's the science of why your show's dialogue is fucking horrible.
Yeah, but you're also getting those pieces where people are like, this has so much better representation for women in it.
They paid for those.
Yeah, no,
you know
those
what? I would
people
like to
are
believe
wrong.
That, yeah. I mean,
Fuck 'em.
those
They
people
did not
are wrong.
watch Cowboy Bebop.
Those people don't even understand what humans are, let alone specifically like
Like Faye Valentine's short shorts are a different color and she kicked someone in the dick. This is a win for feminism.
oh yeah, her yelling about sex and fucking someone because they're a lady within 10 minutes of meeting them on the ship, which is a real girl boss move because it's not her ship. All of these make her a real human. All that shit in the anime, no. Like her actual character. There's so many layers of humanity. This would just, it thrashed it off like it was the fucking whole of a fucking wheat, like white bread ass fucking show with its a craft single.
It really sucks. Like, you know, Bob was making the comparison to Lords of Shadow earlier, and I'm gonna have to do the same thing. Where I'm like, man, this is vile. There's a lot of great art direction here. The costume department did great. A lot of the CG were like, man, they recreated the whole gate infrastructure really well. Man, look at these zip craft. That's a neat job you guys did. Too bad it's in this show.
Too bad.
There wasn't enough zero G.
My only hope is this show inspires people back in Japan to be angry enough to make a new movie or something.
I love rage-induced animation.
Shinichiro Watanabe just sits up like the Undertaker from a dead sleep.
Yes.
It's like Sunrise announces 3 movies.
This was the really shitty thing is they really overblew his role in it in the show for the press tour.
Oh, did they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, he's deep. He's really involved. Everything has his go ahead." And then
Yeah, I saw like consultants.
and then it turns out his quote on his involvement was, "I'm praying and hoping it'll be good."
Oh.
It is a dice roll where it's like a 20-80% chance when they're like, this creator is a consultant on this project.
There was
that means nothing.
There's a live action thing that Watanabe did for Cowboy Bebop back in 2012.
Yeah,
I retweeted that a while ago. Did anyone else see it?
No.
I watched it.
I didn't watch the whole thing. It looked much more feeling of the tone it should than this.
You could tell that it was made with $10.
Yeah, like
It was better shot than anything in this.
Yeah, I saw the headline.
These are my friends who can speak English, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah, like the headline that was like, this looks bad, but it has the spirit of the actual show in it. Where you're like, hey, these are people that care, and this is trying to be that.
Yeah. It's real sad.
Okay, I'm going to say it now. The only way you can adapt Cowboy Bebop to live action and get what we deserve is if it's just like Versus.
Yeah.
Spike, this bounty's hiding out in the national park.
Man, they've been doing that for the last 10 episodes.
I'll take it.
And I was clapping the whole time.
That park also happens to have a church over there, too.
It's so weird after all these years and all of the close calls and the scares we had in like the late 90s and then the early 2000s when Fox kept threatening to make that DBZ movie.
Yeah.
That in fucking 2021, somebody reaches into the past and kicks High School Aggro in the dick.
Yeah, because back then we were like, oh man, there's going to make a Cowboy Bebop with Keanu Reeves. That'll be so dumb and bad. And it's like, that would have been so much better than this. And it'd be a movie, so it would be constrained.
I've been scared of the American Akira movie for like 20 years.
Bring it on now. What can you
It
do?
could be worse.
Fucking dump it all on me.
Came really close to that Weta Workshops Ava movie. I still think Matt Greenfield is on somebody's front lawn at 3 a.m, still trying to get that made.
God. We could keep going, so we need to wrap this up.
Okay.
Fair.
My last comment I want to get out because we need to do wrapping up comments before, like final comments before we get to the wrap up. I really hate that when it comes to TV production, the thing you hear a lot of the time is that they just how fast you make it is almost the most important thing about this shit. And it comes across in the cinematography here where none of these shots are interesting. There's no interesting shot in the entire fucking thing, which upsets me a lot because one of the things that inspires me most when it comes to cinematography, composition, etc., is anime. There are so many great animes with so many good senses of composition and other stuff, and this looks so unprofessional in that sense. Not one interesting shot in the whole thing. Not one. It might as well be the set of Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
It's that flat and uninteresting.
I want this.
I mean, I feel like Vicious's house
Yeah.
is like one of the cheapest sets of the whole show. We go there for like an hour plus over the whole series.
I want an edit of this with a laugh track.
And it looks worse than the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, because every set looks fake.
Yeah.
Like they don't look built to feel. Let me put it this way. I know Japanese YouTubers with more real looking sets than this who have had a set constructed for their channel that looks infinitely more real
You remember
than
that?
the sets in this show.
Remember that part of Cowboy Bebop we talked about last week where it's like, man, everything feels really lived in. Nothing feels like anyone ever lived in here.
They couldn't have
That's
chosen.
because it was all green screen.
They couldn't have chosen a worse series to do this.
Yeah, they really couldn't.
Yeah, I think about how pristine Spike's suit looks.
I just think about Anna's cave wall bar.
Yes.
The cave wall bar, the fucking bebop. It's so disappointing. That if it was just the writing and it looked great, or had good action sets, or the music fit, because that's the thing. The music fit tone-wise into the original perfectly. Like a key made for a hole made for the key, right? Mm-hmm. This, it's just you beating a door down with a hammer.
Yeah, because it turns out there's no hole.
Yeah, there's no soul. There's literally nothing to enhance here. You can't underscore and resonate with the core of it because there is none. It's just some phantom ghoul pretending to be the original. There's no substance underneath. It's just a cloak. That's the only comment I wanted to make before we get into wrap up. Did anyone else have any specific things they wanted to talk about?
You remember that episode where they went into the fucked up simulation, so they made the theme song bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really, that was weird. I don't understand it. They also did the anime thing or in general, I feel like it comes up a lot in shows where they start playing the theme song a little bit before the actual intro starts, and
they
every
know
time
you're gonna
they
skip
did
it.
they tripped over and fell downstairs to get synced up again.
Yes.
Sometimes they
They
have to
did.
re-loop, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
think about it in any way.
Because you're supposed to skip it.
While we're talking about intros and outros, I think it's really funny that they fully remade the intro and then the outro just isn't there at all. It's like they missed the point entirely. Like when we did our rewatch, we watched through the outro almost every time it played. We
Yes,
skipped
we
the
did.
intro basically every time.
Yeah. Real folk blues fucking rules.
Yes. Also, the fact that they put the little ending text in the bottom and at no point fucking works ever.
Well, yeah, they just pulled them at random and put them in this at random. They didn't even match it to the episodes
the audible
except for the VR one.
The to be continued one's the absolute worst because the episode does not continue the plot thread of the last episode in any way.
Yeah. God. They didn't say to be continued immediately.
I want you to immediately get away from me.
Along the thread of like people doing actual good work on this show, the actors they got to play both Uday, the syndicate assassin, and what's her face from the eco warrior sea rat organization, the mother.
Yeah.
Both of them were like, oh shit, that's top tier casting. You guys are killing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt the casting was really good for her. You know what we didn't bring up?
What's up?
The tree transformation and how fucked up and...
Yeah, that was messed up. That whole episode's the worst. Because it has that scene
this
with,
whole series was some gritty 90s reboot shit.
yeah, and it plays like this happy music while we see these horrible transformations, and we're supposed to laugh, is what I think they think.
It's like someone's getting like mustard gassed and they play comedy music. And I'm like, why are you doing this? What is What?
Right?
Do you think they could at least, use angles where we don't see the body horror if you want to try and play it up in any other way?
This is where someone who either is an ardent fan of the show or made it, they're totally two separate people, would come into our comment section and be like, it's dramatic irony. We're playing a comedy song and I just go, no, shut up.
You don't know what either of those words mean. Shut the fuck up.
Possibly any word.
But like episode 1, you see a t-shirt with a Ganymede sea rat, and I'm like, that's a cool thing. And then the posse shows up and they've got the sea rat helmets. I'm like, oh, that's neat. Oh, we're not doing the sea rat. We're doing a tree thing. Okay, fuck off.
Because trees are eco-terrorism, the tree's health environment.
Yeah, this is how terraforming works. You thought of this at all?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you adapt this episode?
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't want to do anything from the episode, but you wanted to say you did it.
You could have built an actual set for the Bebop and then done even one of the 2 bottle shows the anime had, the one with the fridge and Mushroom Sampa, where almost everything happens on the ship.
I would have loved a live action version of the Fridge episode.
Yeah, that would
It would be
that's
such a
an
cheap
easy
episode
call
to make.
Yeah, it's such an easy call to make.
$40.
No, it's too goofy. It's too anime. We gotta be serious.
People turning into a fucking tree, that's not goofy at all. Keeping in why? Okay, you have to do the Perot episode because that's memorable. Whatever. Why did you keep his air combo on Spike and then just have him float down to the ground?
God, all that shadow bullshit. Ugh.
I love Play 2, but it was kind of 20 years ago.
God, that episode just made me so mad.
They
I'm
couldn't-
like, holy shit.
They couldn't even be brave enough to just let him fly. No, we need hover boots for this man. We need him to be introduced as like sane, basically.
I hated that.
And then like Dan said earlier, they still have him cry over his mommy for no reason.
Yeah,
It just seems like they didn't know what they were doing at all.
Yeah, no. Like if you take him as a design, if you look at his costume, the weapons, the coat, the weird plates between each one of his teeth, like that's a cool character design that somebody worked really hard on, and then the writers of this show fucked up.
He's having conversations, and I'm like, wrong. And I'm like, he's a henchman for the ultimate bad guy. Wrong.
Right? Vicious sends his fuck off.
He looks normal-ish. Wrong.
Wrong.
And the fact that they just immediately like show the twist of what his situation was, whereas you waited a decent amount of time in the original episode for, and then they're like, we're changing it to dog. We have a dog.
So we're going to do that part
Uh-huh.
where we say our closing statements, give this a score out of 10, and then I hit the stop recording button.
Ooh.
That's great.
I love that.
Ooh.
Can I do one little thing before that?
Yeah, go right ahead.
As a treat.
It's really funny that they keep acting like Spike is young.
That's so...
Like they have dialogue
John
written
Cho
like that.
is 49 years old.
Why? Just fuck you.
If they just ignored it, I'd been fine. But when they write stuff to explicitly say, "Oh, what a young guy,"
That killed me because I asked the question in the last podcast of, do you think they're gonna like write it to acknowledge the fact that a basically 50-year-old man is playing Spike Spiegel? And they're like, no.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that. That's
Okay.
So we're going to start our roundup of our wrap up here. KZ, a few sentences and a number out of 10.
Cowboy Bebop is bad. We know it's bad. We know this Netflix thing they made is really bad. The usual thing happened when this came out. People posted those screenshots, maybe an out of context clip like that awful blackmail line. You don't truly understand how horrible this show is until you're like knee deep just experiencing the pacing, the cinematography, the script. and everything in order and going, oh, we're going back to Vicious, we're going back to this. You don't understand. Even listening to us, you do not truly understand how horrible this thing is unless you watch it. But this is that time where I'm like, no, you don't go watch it, though. Because it's basically one of the worst professionally made things we've had to watch on here. It's a 0. It's bad. It's awful.
It would take, the show's like roughly 9 to 10 hours long. It would take at least 40 to 50 to break down how bad every episode is from a writing level alone.
Yeah.
They had a runtime that almost equals out to 20 anime episodes.
Christ. While adapting.
Yeah, this
8.
is almost as long as the whole thing.
Fuck. Okay, we'll go to Bob next. Bob.
Yeah, this show is absolute miserable. Absolutely. There's nothing good here, nothing salvageable. Hopefully it just gets burned and we never have to see it again. And they don't do a season 2. Yeah, this is a 0. It's worse than basically everything we ever watched for Cursed Consent. The show about watching bad things. We found something worse on this show where we just watch things.
Yeah.
I mean, multiple times it's been brought up that even a Channel Awesome movie has merits over this, and that's a fucking problem.
Yeah, your Channel Awesome movies shouldn't be winning out anything.
Yeah, I will watch literally anything we've ever watched again except for Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie because I would have to leave.
Same.
I just have to fast forward through a few parts. Otherwise,
no. This situation is that you have to stare at it. You have to.
Luckily, Tim and Eric's movie isn't 9 to 10 hours long.
God, could you imagine?
But then I have to clean up your carpet.
God. Okay, we're gonna go to Feel next. Feel.
This has no reason to exist. 0.
We're gonna go to Dr. Aggro next. Dr. Aggro.
I am 100% that guy who will tell you, oh yeah, no, this movie's not great, but watch it because it has this thing in it.
Yes.
Or this motif, or this cool idea. That you can watch a bad series or a movie because there's stuff of value in it to be gained. This, no, we're in like Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind mode. Oh shit, some spores got in, burn the forest down. There's nothing in here that is worth it.
The forest is Netflix.
I will always try to gauge things, to engage with them where they're at, like what they're trying for, to decide whether or not they're good. This thing is bad. It should not have been done. And the faster everyone forgets it exists, the better society we will be. 0.
I agree with everything said there as well. Yeah, that's the thing. It really isn't trying to be a thing. It doesn't have enough thought put into it to have a point, to have substance, to have a core, to have soul. It's just going through the motions, you know? There's nothing looks good. Nothing sounds great. Music almost never fits. Even if this was an original thing, it would be completely stupid. Like this has nothing to do with the ruination of a thing I like. It has everything to do with every original writing decision they make is the most like stock fucking thing they could have done. Reducing these characters who had important functions to them, even if they weren't incredibly fleshed out, into just moronic stereotypes. It's truly terrible. I feel bad for the actors. I don't feel bad for anyone else, basically, except for Shinichiro Watanabe. Hey, at least Yoko Kanno got paid. I'm going to give it a 0 out of 10.
I feel bad for us.
It's just...
we had this coming.
God damn it, you're right.
No, none of us had this coming.
No one deserved this.
I've deserved some shit, but I don't deserve this.
I've made a lot of armchair devs pitches.
Feels like I didn't deserve this. Maybe I deserved, I don't know, the Monster Hunter movie. But I definitely did deserve
I deserve Dragon's Dogma.
Absolutely.
Spike, I have to buy this doll for my daughter because the guy who wrote this is a fucking idiot.
Well, that's a real coincidence, Jet, because I need to... Wait, no, I have nothing to do.
Here I go killing again.
The executive producers for this month of GigaBoots are Esme, E. Lee Broyles, Star Falcon, Spaceman Spiff, Red Blaze 27, Brendan O'Sullivan, Live Action Muito Real, Completely Normal Adam, Cooper Tank, Zilter, and Virvarm. Thank you very much to our executive producers, and also these patrons. If you want to become an executive producer for an obscure but powerful YouTube channel, head on over to patreon.com/gigaboots today.